Hello and welcome to this recorded video tutorial for helping you complete the assignment called Academic APA Paper Formatting and Citation Assignment, which is part of Word 4. Let me actually fix that to a capital V. The scenario is that you're a college student and you might continue in your academic degree, or you have a paper due for one of your professors. You're submitting a paper for one of your professors. You've already written the content and researched your sources, so the content is pretty much already done. But your professor insists that you submit the paper following strict APA format, which is very common in colleges, universities. There's actually two leading formats, one called MLA and one called APA. It's usually kind of half and half. Some professors prefer one, some professors prefer another. We're picking APA because it's more common here at Broward College. And we will conduct the necessary changes for the paper to meet this standard. So instruction number 1 is from the same module where you downloaded these, or are seeing these instructions. You're going to download a Word document which is called APA Start, and as soon as it opens, you're going to save it, just adding your last name to it. Instead of APA Start, you're going to call it APA with your last name. So I already downloaded it, and here it is. This is the start file. Its content is pretty much done, other than a few spelling errors which we will fix and so on. But what we need to do is bring it up to the format called APA. So first thing I'm going to do, File, Save As. You're noticing that I'm using a Mac here, but pretty much everything that we're doing on a Mac is the same on Windows, with a few cosmetic differences. And when there are differences, I'll point them out. Save As, and instead of APA Start, I'm going to call it APA Smith. I've already have like a few examples of those. I'm going to call it Smith 5, but you just use your own last name. And as soon as I saved it, I'm going to go, from now on, we'll just switch all the time between the instructions and the file itself. So I'm marking this done. And finally, to do something, on second paragraph, replace with your actual full name, and on your sixth paragraph, replace placeholder with your today's actual date. So we'll do both those steps together. In the start file, right here, there's a placeholder for your full name. Let's say my name is James Smith. Not Amith, but Smith. And let's say that today's date, I'm just going to use the one from the example. You, of course, use the right one. After the day, there should be a comma. So it's month, day, comma, and the year. Save. Next step. Step number 4. APA prefers the font called Times New Roman, size 12. We're going to select the entire text, which is to select all. Hold the Control key plus A on Windows, or Command plus A on Mac, or just click, hold, and drag to select the whole thing, and change the font of everything to Times New Roman, size 12. So I'm using Command A because I'm on a Mac, and I'm pulling down the font menu now. If I don't see Times New Roman as one of my latest fonts or theme fonts, I'm going to scroll down. If I find a hard time scrolling down, I can search for it. I can, erase the name and start typing Times New Roman, and it finds it, and then enter, and then size 12. And then my whole document is now, let me make sure, Times New Roman, size 12. Save. Next. We just did step number 4. There are about 40 steps, so this might take more than one part. While still all selected, we're going to open the paragraph dialog. On Windows, there's going to be an arrow. We've used it in previous assignments. On the bottom of the paragraph group in the Home tab. On Mac, I'm going to move the cursor to the very top of the monitor, find the menu called Format, and select Paragraph. So on Windows, let me move it so I can switch easily between the two. from now on. Yeah. So on Windows, at the Home tab, there's going to be on the paragraph group this little icon with an arrow, but this is a Mac. So on Mac, I go to the Format menu. Sometimes when people maximize Word, they go like, where's the Format menu? And because of that, I tell them, go to the very top or touch the top of the screen and you'll see the Format menu. I don't like maximizing, so I see those menus all the time, but in any case, Format menu and Paragraph. And in both cases on Mac and Windows, it's going to open the same dialog. And on that dialog here, the changes that I need to make to everything. I'm going to change everything to be spacing before and after 0 and line spacing double. Why? Because that's the APA standard. And click OK and save, of course. Back to the instructions. Here it is. Step number 5 was to open the dialog. Step number 6, line spacing to double, spacing before and after to 0. It shows you exactly what to do. So we've done that too. Step number 7, APA requires 1-inch margins. We're going to go to Layout, Margins, and set margins to normal, which is 1 inch. It is not that way right now. So I don't even need to select anything because that's for the whole document. Layout, Margins, right now it's narrow. I'm going to change it to normal, 1 inch on all sides. APA requires a cover page before the content, with, the name, the title, and so on. We're going to place our insertion point, the cursor, right before the letter I in the word introduction, and in layout breaks, page break, layouts page breaks, we're going to insert a page break. And now the last thing on the first page is the date, and the first thing on the second page is introduction. So here's what we're going to do, this little surgery. Right before the word introduction, see how my cursor is blinking right before the I? I'm going to go to Layout, here's breaks, here's page break. So, like it says, last thing on the first page is the date, first thing on the second page is the introduction. We're not going to do this by hitting enter, 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 enter. It's going to needs to be a real page break. Save. Then we turn our attention to page 2. We're going to go back to page 1. In the References tab, we're going to make sure that the APA standard is selected. So we are on the second page, and in the References tab, I'm going to make sure APA in the Citations Bibliography, because there's so many other standards, but APA. And we're going to, so we just did step number 10. Step number 11, we're going to define the following paragraphs as heading 1. They're very easy to identify. Introduction to the topic, evolution of computers and education in the 90s, the first decade of the millennium, current trends in use and education, and conclusion. All those 5 paragraphs, 5 lines, need to become heading 1. So, going back here, introduction to the topic. How do I make it a heading 1? We've done this before. Home, styles pane. If this, is too small, I can always click it and it opens like on the side. Or I can open the gallery. In any case, heading 1. And then evolution of computers, also heading 1. And then the first decade of the millennium, also heading 1. And then current trends, also heading 1, and conclusion, heading 1. I'm just going to say one word about where to find those styles. If my screen is wide enough, I should be able to see them here, or open the gallery, or open the styles pane, which will open them on the side, and then I can see them even if my screen is narrower. Save. But after I've done all of these, we're going to select one of them because right now they don't look the way that APA wants headings to look like. APA likes headings to look pretty much like regular text, only centered and bold. So we're going to change the following things. Color font, black, 12-point, bold, Times New Roman, and horizontally centered for the first heading, which is, the introduction to the topic. All of that is done, of course, in the Home tab. So instead of whatever color it is, black. Instead of whatever font it is, Times New Roman. Instead of whatever size it is, 12. We're going to make sure it's bold, and we're going to make sure that it's centered. That's the way APA wants to see heading 1s, but that's not enough. The next thing we need to do is take care of the spacing, because APA requires it to be just like regular paragraphs, double spaced and 0 before, 0 after. So while still selected, open paragraph dialog, change spacing to before and after 0, and line spacing to double. So while it's selected, again, since I'm on a Mac, I don't have that little icon to open it. I go Format, Paragraph, and double. Nothing before, not auto, but 0, nothing before, nothing after. And that's what a heading in APA should look like. Save. If it looks right, and here's the example when it looks right, if it looks okay, and we're on step number 14, and heading is still selected, right-click on heading 1 thumbnail and select Update Heading to Match Selection. We've done this before. What I'm saying to Word is, see what I've done to heading 1 here. I want all my heading 1s to look like that. We can right-click. Actually, I need the actual gallery here. I'm going to make sure the screen is wide enough so I can see the heading 1 thumbnail. Right-click on it and update heading 1 to match selection. And look at what it did. It changed the look of all my heading 1s. And that would be a perfect time to save. Next. We just did step number 14. Step number 15. Now go through all the heading 1s and change them to capitalize each word, because that's, again, APA standard. But change back to lowercase the words the, and, in, to, and of, unless they're the first word of a paragraph. Then they are capitalized. For example, if the is in the middle of a sentence, lowercase. But if the is the first word of a sentence, the first word needs to be capitalized. Why? Because that's APA standard. So some people say I can, fix it, manually. But I think it's quicker to just highlight each one of them. We're going to do it manually. And right here under Home, Font, Case, capitalize each word, but the word the here needs to become lowercase. Evolution of computers, capitalize each words, and you can even see that word is kind of questioning the word in, which needs to be in lowercase, and here the word in, which needs to be in lowercase, and the word of, which needs to be in lowercase. By the way, why those words? Because they're considered not real words. They're considered connective words. Then, first decade of the millennium, capitalized, and of course the word of becomes a lowercase o. The here stays capital. And current trends, capitalize each word. In goes back to being lowercase, and here in goes back to being lowercase. Conclusion I can do myself. It's one word. I can just change the C to a capital letter. Save. Next. So we just did step number 15. Now, right before the first word of every normal paragraph, not headings, press the Tab key to create an indent. Again, why? Because that's APA standard. Do it only on the first line of each paragraph. What they're talking about is going, for instance, after introduction to the topic, it has only one paragraph. I press the Tab key and it creates an indent for the first line. Same thing here. Same thing here. For right now, each one of the sections has only one paragraph, but if it had more, each paragraph needs an indent on the first line. And the conclusion. Save. We just finished step number 16. By now, all your paragraphs should have a ½ inch indent on the first line and look like this. I'm comparing mine. Yep, looks right. Finally, we're going to run a full spell check. There are at least 4 misspelled words. So let's mark that done and do a spell check. I'm going to the very beginning. I am going to the review tab. Almost the very first thing in the review tab is spelling and grammar. I click spelling and grammar. It found that the word often is spelled wrong. Replace the word here. I forgot. I need to make it a lowercase. That's not really actually one of the spelling errors. Let's continue with the spelling. Elementary is spelled wrong. Devices spelled wrong, and essential is spelled wrong. And those are the really, 4 words that are spelled wrong. That the was just like, I forgot to change one of the connective words to lowercase. But in any case, really, misspelled words, there's 4 of them to fix. Go back to page 1. The title of the paper needs to be marked as title. Select the paragraph Computers in Elementary School Classroom Over the Last Decades, and in Home Styles, we're going to define it as title. So I'm going back to page 1. This needs to be defined as title. Home. I don't see the style called title. I open the gallery. On Windows, the gallery will be a little arrow here, but on Mac, it's in the center, and here, title. And of course, it's way too big. So we're going to perform the following changes on it to make it comply with APA format. Title is too big for APA. Titles in APA need to be, maybe this will sound familiar, black font, 12-point, bold, Times New Roman, and horizontally centered. Perform all those changes. And while we're at it, we're also going to go to let's save this for another step. So first of all, I'm going to say, hey, you're not the right font. You're not the right size. You are the right color. You need to be bold and you need to be centered. But one of the things that we need to do in APA is push all of this to be more or less at the center of the page. Of course, the primitive way would be to hit enter, 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 enter to push it down, but that's not the professional way. The professional way would be to go to the format format dialog. Again, on Windows, it would be here. On Mac, format and paragraph. Make sure, of course, that it's double spaced, like everything in APA. After, it's going to be 0, but before, I'm going to put 72. There's quite a lot. And it's going to make sure that there's like a gap of 72 points before and push the whole thing down. So it's more or less in the center of the page. Save. Next. This time I'm not updating the style because there's only one title. There's no other titles to update. And this was step number 21. We just did 20 and 21. And it shows you in the screenshot exactly. Here's the double and the 72 and so on. And while the title is still selected, we're going to perform the same change, capitalize each word, but taking care that connective words are lowercase. So selecting it, home, capitalize each word, and in needs to be lowercase, the needs to be lowercase, over the needs to be lowercase, and I believe that's it. Save. Of course, if in the video I forget something, then it's your job to, catch it in your own assignments. And back to the instructions. We just did number 22 and 23. And 24, we're going to select all the other lines in this page, such as your name, the school, the course, the instruction, and so on. And we're going to perform exactly the same change. Just center them horizontally and take care of the capitalize each word and the connective words that need to become lowercase. So I'm selecting all of this. I am centering it. It's already double spaced. Let me check. Format, paragraph. Yep, it's already double 00. Good. And I'm going to perform capitalize each word, and let's see what needs to be fixed. That and needs to become lowercase. School of, that O needs to be lowercase. School of computer literacy. Now, the one thing that it kind of goes too far is fix the CGS. The G and the S need to be capitalized because it's an acronym. And put your section. Make sure that you find your section from D to L. It's something going to be like, 734. No, it's like a 5-digit number. Usually starts with 7. And my name and everything is cool. Save. Going back to the instructions, the first page should look like this. If it does, time to add citations. I think this will be a good time to stop part 1 of the tutorial, and I will see you in part 2 where we are going to insert citations and a bibliography.